we're on to the next part of our program. You can see the program proper. First person up is Kim Murphy-Kovalick. She's going to speak about the Voters Not Politicians petition drive to help protect elections. Kim, do you want to unmute?
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Kim Murphy-Kovalick. I am the campaign director at Voters Not Politicians. And I'm here today to talk about something that we are super excited about. We are joining the Promote the Vote 2022 coalition to expand access and security to the ballot. So this coalition is made up of a bunch of powerhouse organizations. You can see the list here. It's growing every day. So I would encourage you to go to promotethevote22.com to check out the partners page of their website. Let's see. No. So the Promote the Vote 22 coalition is a constitutional amendment that will provide US citizens with multiple rights. So this is expanding on the incredible work done in 2018 when we passed Prop 2, which was the constitutional amendment to end gerrymandering in Michigan, and Prop 3, which expanded access to the ballot for all Michigan voters. So now, there's been quite a bit of research done in talking to Michiganders across the state. And we want to pass this amendment that would provide Michigan voters the right to vote without harassment, interference, or intimidation. Military and overseas ballots will be counted if they're postmarked by Election Day and received within 6 days. They'll still be counted. We will enshrine our current photo ID laws in the Constitution, so people will be able to show photo ID at the polling location or to sign a legal document, an affidavit, verifying their identity if they don't have their ID on them. People will be able to vote absentee in every election. And then even better, they can submit their absentee ballot using secure official drop boxes or state-funded postage. The amendment will provide state funding for drop boxes. That's one for every municipality, and with a minimum of one for every 15,000 voters in municipalities. And they have to be equitably distributed throughout the municipality. VNP has been doing clerk engagement for 3 years, and one of the great frustrations that we have had is that a lot of municipalities will cluster their drop boxes around their city hall or their city buildings instead of spreading them out where they could be accessed by more voters who actually don't have transportation or who just need a drop box near them. So this would remedy that problem. This will also supply prepaid postage on absentee ballot applications that are sent by clerks, and also prepaid postage on return envelopes for ballots themselves. That postage would not be charged for unless they were actually used. So the voters who most need to have prepaid postage, like college students who often just don't have stamps, or anybody who is living in poverty, which, as you all know, are quite a few people across the state. The postage then would be charged, but if it's not used and the voter chooses to use a drop box or vote in person, it will be no additional charge to the state. This provides for secure, accountable audits by election officials, and the audit procedures themselves would have to be followed. Would have to be put in place before the election that is being audited. So there will be no retroactive audit changes. It has to be, completely transparent. The funding has to be transparent, and it has to be done by election officials and not by an outside company. My favorite part of this amendment is that people can vote in person early for 9 consecutive days before an election. That is 2 full weekends, and that's 8 hours a day. Municipalities can band together to provide this service as long as they're within a county, so they can combine precincts, you can combine municipalities, which will make this less of a burden on rural or cash-strapped municipalities and a boon to voters. Okay. One of the things that we've been talking about for years with clerks during our clerk engagement is that people work full-time, people go to school full-time, and they often just can't get to a clerk's office to take care of the business that they need to take care of between the hours of 9 to 5. In fact, some clerks are only open 1 or 2 days a week, depending on the size of the municipality. This will require public disclosure of charitable and in-kind donations to pay for elections and audits. It also expands the ability or enshrines the ability of local clerks to accept grant funding. This has not been an issue really until the 2020 election. So you can see that, part of the current onslaught against grant funding in Secure My Vote, Petition Drive, which I won't mention again, and some proposed legislation has been because in the 2020 election, clerks were offered and received quite large grants in order to provide the services that they needed to accommodate the increased number of absentee ballots. So now the clerks will still be able to accept those donations. Going forward, those donations will probably only be in the form of donated polling places, but this also, also falling under this umbrella will be the ability to, accept donations for tents, for, all kinds of very small things that clerks count on in order to make, in order to administer their elections. Election results will be certified by the boards of state canvassers solely on votes cast. So, it does narrowly define their role. And then perhaps the best part of this proposed amendment is that it will implement the ability for anybody who's on the permanent absentee ballot list. They can apply once to receive a ballot for every election. So it will stop the cycle that we have right now where clerks are required to send an absentee ballot application, even if you're on the permanent absentee ballot list. And then the voter has to, complete that application, send it back to their clerk, and then they will receive their ballot. Of course, if voters move, if they're within the state of Michigan, all they have to do is update their address, and then they will not have to reapply. If voters move and don't update their address, when mail is returned to the clerk's office as undeliverable, they'll be removed from that list. And then if somebody, when somebody dies, of course, they'll be removed, or if they're otherwise ineligible to vote, then they'll be removed from that list as well. If they don't vote in for elections in 6 consecutive years, they will also be removed from the permanent ballot list. Okay, so in February, the Board of State Canvassers did meet and they revised and approved a 100-word petition summary. There was a form approval that was pending some changes which have been made. And we have been recruiting volunteers. We have 1,200 circulators right now who are ready to go as soon as we have petitions in hand. Our big goal is to submit 425,059 valid signatures to the Secretary of State, and that has to be done by in the first week of July, by July 11th, in order to appear on the 2022 ballot. So what I would ask of everybody here, we have quite an active Washtenaw County team, but we could always use more. Please go to promotethevote2022.com and choose Take Action. We need field coordinators in many parts of the state, and we still need team leaders as well to help organize our army of petition circulators. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Oops. Oh. And I would love to take any questions that people have.
Those who have questions, would you please raise your hand? Loretta Codrington. I guess I have to allow you to talk. Loretta, are you unmuted?
Unmute. Okay, I'm unmuted.
No, you're okay.
Okay, so I just wanted to say thank you guys. This is a wonderful, wonderful meeting, wonderful folks, wonderful information. My question is, last election cycle, I signed up to be a permanent, for the permanent, what do you call it? Mail-in candidate, mail-in constituent, for lack of a better word. Anyway, I signed up, and what I hear you saying is we have to sign up again, because I thought I was on the list. Once you sign up once, did that get eliminated?
Yeah, so, I mean, right now, not every clerk is required to have a permanent absentee ballot list. So this amendment, once it passes, will allow voters who are on a permanent absentee ballot list to choose to opt in to receiving just a ballot for every election. It doesn't say specifically in the amendment how that has to be operationalized by election officials, but my feeling is that they're going to have to create a new form, so that you will have a new form from your clerk with a box that will say you need to would you like to opt in to receiving just a ballot and not an application. But the amendment does not say, this is constitutional, so it has to be a little bit more broad. And then the processes will have to be worked out by the Secretary of State. And then, that information will be given to clerks.
Okay. When is the timeline?
Well, it will go on the 2022 ballot, and people will vote on it. It'll pass in November. I'm confident about that. And then it would not take effect until the following year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I see that Larry Kessendam has a question. Larry, I believe you're unmuted, so you can ask.
Yeah, no, in terms of the permanent absentee list, which we have throughout Washtenaw County, what that means is when you sign up for it, you get an application for an absentee ballot for every election, and you basically fill it out and you get sent a ballot. But what I have a question about is why is it that this proposal would put boards of canvassers, instead of being appointed and operating in the traditional way, it would put them under the control of the legislature. That was Republicans are trying to do that in some states. Why are we putting that in this proposal?
I think this proposal does not do that. It narrowly defines the role of the Board of State Canvassers. And, there was quite a bit of fear in 2020 that the Board of State Canvassers would not do what they're supposed to do, right? Their role is purely administerial. They are not supposed to investigate elections. And I don't want to overstep my sphere of knowledge here, but my understanding of this constitutional amendment is that it narrowly defines the role of the canvassers and says that they have to certify based on votes cast.
Right. What happens in elections now is that many of the results that are sent by local clerks and precincts to the county board of canvassers contain errors and problems and mismatches, number of votes and so forth. And the county board of canvassers basically goes through every precinct and fixes all those things.
Right.
This proposal would abolish that process completely. Everything has to be sent to the state. The state can't deal with 5,000 precincts. And so things that are obvious mathematical errors, like leaving out the votes of a candidate or something like that, it could not be fixed.
This proposal does not remove the role of the county canvassers.
Oh yeah, it does. That's the way I read it. It repeals the statutes and so forth that deal with the county board of canvassers' ability to make those changes, to make those corrections. Now, admittedly, there's a problem in the state, and that's Wayne County, where they're not doing that. That's why when we had the presidential recount in 2016, half the precincts in Detroit were unrecountable because the Board of Canvassers in Detroit did not have the resources or the time to do that work that they're legally required to do. But I don't think the solution is to take away the legal requirement. The solution is to get Wayne County the funding and the people that they need to do the job.
I agree that every county board of canvassers, every election official should be provided with the funding and the resources that they need. But I think that your interpretation is flat out incorrect. And I can find out more information for you to verify that, but I don't want to leave anyone who's watching this thinking that this is going to remove the county boards of canvassers' role in counting votes. I'd like to move on to the next question, please.
Craig Bloomer.
Yeah, I understand that there's some competing ballot initiatives too on this subject, and I know that some of them are trying to undermine the right to vote. So do you have a quick summary of them and what their deficiencies are?
I'm not going to summarize the deficiencies of any other ballot initiative. Everyone in the state of Michigan has the right to pursue a citizens initiated, ballot initiative, and we applaud people who take on that role. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort and a lot of money. I know that the Promote the Vote 22 coalition is well funded. We are represented by partners around the state of Michigan. And we have the power to succeed, and we have the funding to succeed. We also have the polling and the information and the research done that is required. And we're going to move forward. If you want to know more about the other initiatives, I would suggest going to Bridge Magazine. They have a really excellent article that they update when anybody else files, and it details everything there.
Right, I've got one question for you before we move to the next part of the program, and that is to focus especially on the Am I Right to Vote initiative, which is coming from the same corner, you could say, does some of the same things that your initiative does. And it's very troubling that there are two initiatives that in some ways might be competing for the same signatures and might create confusion. And one wonders what's going to happen if both of them get on the ballot. Will they take votes from each other? But what is being done? Do you think there's a need for a meeting of the minds so that there's only one such initiative? Is it going to present a problem to have two in the field?
Yeah, it could present a problem. It is kind of troubling that we could be out there trying to get signatures and people won't understand which petition they signed. They won't understand if the one that they signed is the other one, and then they get their ballot initiatives on the back of the ballot all the way at the bottom are confusing to voters anyway. So having these two could be problematic in the future, and we're just trying to deal with each hurdle as it comes up right now. I would say I think that if they both get on the ballot and they both pass, the one with the most votes wins. What our field people have been telling their friends is, if you like that one, you're going to love Promote the Vote 2022 because it goes a step further and it makes voting accessible for more people, which is what we want. We want to hear everybody's voices at the ballot.
Great. Thank you very much. Let me see if there's any other questions. No, I don't think so. Thank you, Kim.